Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of October, 2025. Unbelievable. The month is half over already. Hard to believe I went to Spain and back already, and the month is just flying by. Flying by. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at WYAB.com. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in over the airwaves. But if for some reason you can't get the airwaves, you always got a backup stream. Love to have you there. If you wouldn't mind, please like, share, and subscribe if you're listening online. Appreciate that. Get the podcast out there. And if you want to follow me, it's just Andrew Gosser on X. AndrewGasser. Yep. If you want to be part of the program today, number is 601 879 0002. And the text line is open 601 879 5060. We are here to equip you, the saints. And we're going to do that by providing gentle answers that turn away wrath. We're not going to give any harsh words that incite some anger. We're going to try to push that to the side. There's a lot of other things I want to quote there, but I think that's really the gist of today's program. And there's so much to talk about. As I was doing show prep last night and then this morning, I couldn't help but feel that the mainstream media and that the media narrative in general was very negative. They're always, it just always seems like they're trying to pull one side down to the ground, and I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Because there is so much good stuff going on. And if you're not looking for the good stuff, you're not going to see it because they're going to bury it in false and misleading headlines, innuendo, supposition. They'll try to change your minds. But I just want to say that there is such good news out there. You're not going to believe it. Listen to this. The Republican Party favorability rating, negative 13.1. So that means 40.8% of the population thinks Republicans are positive. 53.9% of Americans think the Republicans are unfavorable. When you take the unfavorable and subtract the favorable from it, that's where you get the 13.1. And that's coming from the Real Clear Politics average. They take all the different polls all around and do that. So, the Republicans, negative 13.1. So then you say, Andy, what about the Democrats? And what I say is this. Democrat favorable rating, 33.6. Unfavorable rating, 59.8. Spread, 26.2 points. The Democrat Party has never been lower, ladies and gentlemen. It hasn't been lower one time. It's the Democrat Party can't form a message right now. We don't know who the true leader of the party is. They give sound bites and slogans. They don't give real meaningful answers. They're just completely scattered and spread. I've never seen such disorganization in a United States political party, and that includes the 2012 Republican Party. We were a mess. This is unbelievable to have that big of a spread, and they are the party that's not in power. So naturally, in off-year elections, the party that's not in power gets a boost. You can go back and look at the historical trends of all of this. So for all of us who, let me rephrase that. For all of those listeners out there who believe men should be in the bathrooms or the girls' bathrooms, that we should completely destroy Title IX, that we should allow men to play in women's sports, that you believe that boys can be girls, that, you're not liking this too much. That's that hard left-wing element that's in America. But if you are center of left and you have a daughter and you don't want your daughter walking into the bathroom and having a boy in there, this just makes sense. You've got a really hard time looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, I know I've got these leftist beliefs, but man, they want to put some strange weirdo in the room with my daughter. No, we, w- it's just common sense. And while and if you watch mainstream media, isn't it breathtaking? Isn't it absolutely insane to watch the amount of gaslighting that is going on right now? The walls are literally crumbling down. Literally, you could argue it, I guess, longest on and off war in the history of humanity, the borders of Israel. We have the starting of a peace process. We don't have agreement yet. I think we've gone through phase 1 and now we're starting phase 2. But it doesn't look like that because you know what? Not one Democrat. That's not true. There are 5 or 10 Democrats who congratulated President Trump. But the majority of the Democrats did not do so. The majority of the media coverage of what's going on in Israel is only there to incite emotion and anger. They do not want to report on the good things that are happening there. And I did get this text. This is a good time to bring it up. I just want to make sure I read this right because sometimes you misread one of your texters' texts and then it gets really, really bad. Andrew, can you explain what's going on with the transfer of arms to Israel? Why are they getting all of our new stuff and how are they paying for it? Unknown texter. I appreciate that, unknown texter. We've gone over that before, but I'm happy to do it again. The United States gives Israel billions of dollars. Israel turns around and gives those billions of dollars to Boeing, Lockheed Martin, whatever defense contractor in America's building whatever said system, whether it be the F-35, the F-15, the F-16. I think they've got a tanker or two, but they buy it all through us. And the other part of this question, in a different text, a little bit up, she asked about the rules of war and the tactics that Israel was using. And all I can say to that is that the tactics are the tactics. And I realize that my view on warfare is a little bit different, not because I spent time in the military and wrote papers on it or anything. It's just I never got around to where some people wanted me to get to. And there's war, and war is hell. And when you fight it, you are going to want to win as quickly and as violently as humanly possible to end the war. The longer that these wars drag on, there's fatigue like we have in the United States of America. There's fatigue like they're having in Israel, like they're fatigue that they're having in the Ukraine, like the fatigue they're having in Russia. The only place that doesn't have fatigue is China. But that's only because China doesn't know any better because they're so censored. They don't know what the heck's going on. Good morning, Amelia. The fatigue is real, but getting back to the Democrat Party favorability, there has been such a drop-off that now Pennsylvania might actually be lean Republican by the election next year, and New Jersey is a toss-up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is great, and during this whole time, guess who's promoting everything that's going on in New York? Zorhan Mondami. you have more conservatives and Republicans leaving the state of New York, moving to New Jersey, moving to North Carolina, moving to South Carolina, moving to Florida, making the red states stronger. The blue states will technically get stronger inside their state. They will redraw their districts to get rid of any semblance of Republican representation here by 2032. That's just how this works out. So, but there's data out there that shows we could gain as few as 7 seats and as maybe as 21 seats in 2026. So I think that's exciting. And speaking of that, let me click right here. By the way, Netflix is up. That bump, that Netflix boycott bump kind of dropped and really hasn't done too much more. Supreme Court weighs whether or not to gut key provision of Landmark Voting Rights Act. And I talked about it yesterday, but this is so significant that we're going to talk about it 2 days in a row. And you need to know what's going on with this and what's at stake, because inevitably your liberal friends will whine and cry saying what they're doing is illegal. What they're doing is illegal. So I've posted it on my X so that you can go check it out if you want to. This is from NBC News. The conservative majority will consider whether states are barred from considering race when they draw legislative districts aimed at complying with the 1965 law. When we look at what happened in 1965, there is not one person in this listening audience that knows that we had to change what we were doing in America. We had to have a completely level playing field. But making a level playing field means level for everybody. And we can't sit there and just by following the letter of the law, you can't draw districts based on race. And yet we all know that's what's happening here in Mississippi 2nd District. And don't even get me started on Illinois. It's exactly what happens. If this happens, by the way, this doesn't mean that blue states have to go redraw their districts, although they probably will. Illinois would absolutely redraw it. I know New York wants to redraw it. Here's the thing. There are 5 or 6 states in New England that have all Democrat representatives, yet their population is anywhere from 38 to 42% Democrat or Republican, 38 to 42% Republican. No representation in the U.S. House. None. But we'll make a different argument down in the South and say that's not right. So this is another one of those Pandora box issues. It's going to be exciting to watch. This might be this, and I think they're also doing birthright citizenship this session of the Supreme Court. So that'll be another good one. Imagine if you don't have birthright citizenship. I think that's great, by the way. Any woman listening to my voice right now, if you're traveling anywhere in the world pregnant and all of a sudden you have a baby in, let's say, Singapore, that baby's not going to be a citizen of Singapore. It's not going to have any Singaporean rights. They might actually question you for why you were traveling 9 months plus pregnant, unless you had an early delivery. But the gist of the matter is that birthright citizenship, the illegal immigration, reworking our congressional districts. There's a lot of positive news out there, and I've just scratched the surface. I've got over 25 window tabs open. I've got all sorts of local stuff we can talk about. We've got some national stuff we can talk about, some international stuff we can talk about. We're definitely going to talk about Charlie Kirk getting his Medal of Freedom. There's a lot of really cool stories going around about that. But that's what we're aiming to do today on the Andrew Gosser Show. We are going to take our first break. We will be right back. We will be right back.
Keep it tuned here to 103.9 WYAB.
Antique Mall of the South has 14,000 square feet of pristine, clean floor space. Home to beautiful, timeless antique treasures. Antique Mall of the South is open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. Check them out online at antiquemallofthesouth.com or go to the Antique Mall of the South Facebook page. You can also read the dozens of 5-star reviews online. Come see for yourself at Antique Mall of the South in Ridgeland. Now open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. That's Antique Mall of the South, Highway 51 in Ridgeland.
Whether new construction or remodeling, Stephen Arrington and his team at Elite Custom Construction can design and build your dream kitchen and cabinets, inside and outside. Using high-quality products, Elite Custom Construction specializes in cabinetry and intricate millwork. Established in 2011, licensed and insured, Elite Custom Construction is your solution to your next project. Call Stephen at 601-927-0552 or visit them online at elitecustomconstruction.net.
Have you noticed all these people acting like the sky is falling? All this tariff talk has folks real nervous, but at iGear Optical, we've got you covered. Our prices remain solid on all our quality products. While all other shops are raising prices, we are not. Come get a great pair of eyeglasses, computer glasses, or sunglasses that fit you, your lifestyle, and your budget every day at iGear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl, and on the web at iGearOptical.com.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
I've always believed that being your jeweler means being there for you with the highest quality jewelry repair and custom design services in the state. I'm John Ravenstein.
I'm Corey Ravenstein. That's why here at Juniker Jewelry Company, you'll find the largest team of fine jewelry professionals and artisans in Mississippi.
Only here at Juniker's will you find 4 master goldsmiths. We do everything in-house. Your jewelry never leaves our shop.
We even have jewelry designers on staff to help you create that one-of-a-kind piece you've always dreamed of.
Juniker's master craftsmen set the stones, work the metals, and polish everything to perfection.
There is almost nothing we can't create or fix like new again.
For Mississippi's finest jewelry repair and true old-world craftsmanship, come see us at Juniker Jewelry Company.
Our trusted jewelry professionals are here for you.
Juniker Jewelry Company, Mississippi's direct diamond importer. 1485 Highland Colony Parkway, just south of 463 in Madison, and JunikerJewelry.com.
Hey guys, I have a secret for you. We notice. We notice when you're tired all the time. We notice when your drive is gone. We notice when you're just not feeling that into us. But here's the good news. It might not be your age. It might be your testosterone level. Hey y'all, I'm Morgan at Men's Health of Mississippi. We help men just like you. We specialize in giving you back your strength, your energy, stamina, and confidence. Don't settle for feeling less than your best. Call Men's Health of Mississippi today to find out what your testosterone level is. Trust me, we'll notice that too.
Friday night lights, family, and a hot Johnny's Pizza House pizza on the table. Now, that's our kind of hunt. Make it a sweep the kitchen and bring everyone together. Johnny's Pizza House. Let's share a slice. Here in the South, we keep our football loud and our pizza loaded. Grab a Johnny's Pizza House, sweep the kitchen, and cheer on your hometown team. Johnny's Pizza House. Let's share a slice.
Oh, yeah. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. If you want to be part of the program, the number is 601-879-0002. And the text line is open. We got a lot of texts, actually. Number is 601-879-5060. Brother Rick chimed in this morning. Silver is going through the roof. If you go back, and I'm not telling you what to buy or anything like that, but if you just look at the 6-month chart, the 1-month chart, and the 5-day chart for silver, you're doing all right. There are some big stories going through, and I always ask what people are looking at. People are obviously very tuned into Israel. in my text. Honestly, I probably get 40 to 50 texts a day from about 8 of you, which is really awesome because you all have different diverse viewpoints on what's going on in Israel. Some of you are really happy about it, some of you not so much, and I appreciate that. But some of the stuff that you're sending in, the videos are so long, and I can't really chop it up to be able to put it on the radio. But it was interesting to see in Israel yesterday all the American flags that were out there. I wonder if any Americans that were Christians got spit on, because that does happen, especially if you wear like a crucifix on your necklace. It happens. I'm not trying to be hateful. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. And then the other thing that's a really big deal yet, and it hasn't really sunk in, but China's not going to give us any of their rare earth metals for AI. So that Cold War continues to rumble on, and I'm looking at it from a point right now where with Sora 2, the new AI video generator, it's disgusting. If they want to take a video of me right now, upload it, they can sit there and grab all my particular mock my voice, get my talking style, and basically come out with a whole segment of me, and it could be completely AI. And then I'd just be like, shoot, what are you going to say to that? It's insane. And I haven't talked about it that much, but I do have it in my stack of stuff. Free speech. This one ought to make some people really fired up. But I actually am not sure how I feel about this decision yet. So let's go through it together. Appeals court defends the ban of Let's Go Brandon shirts in Michigan. A federal appeals court on Tuesday ruled in favor of a Michigan school district in a dispute over free speech and Let's Go Brandon shirts clothing that took a jab at then President Joe Biden. Well, we all remember how Let's Go Biden actually started, or Let's Go Brandon actually started at the NASCAR race, where Brandon just won the race, and they were letting Joe Biden where to go. They're basically telling him to forget himself, which he did. And the clueless ESPN reporter babe basically said, "You hear him saying, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" That must have been somebody in her earpiece, or if she came up with that on the fly, that she needs a raise. That's absolutely on the fly like that. That was moving really quick. But long story short, Let's Go Brandon really means to go fly a kite, right? And apparently the U.S. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals said that the school district does have the right to ban Let's Go Brandon t-shirts, because they are saying that Let's Go Brandon insinuates vulgarity. And you want to know what? If we're going to take vulgarity out of schools, that's great. And if they say in their determination that Let's Go Brandon is vulgar, that's great. How about all of the other items that you're allowing kids to wear into schools that are vulgar? Whether it be not enough clothing on somebody, it can be political in nature, violent in nature. I think what most people are saying, if we're going to have standards like that, we need to keep them level, and we're not. But long story short is this: in the schoolhouse, vulgarity trumps politics. That's what they wrote. And the protection for political speech doesn't give a student carte blanche to use vulgarity at school, even when that vulgarity is cloaked in innuendo or an euphemism. So this right here, to me, well, I can appreciate getting vulgarity out there. You're going to have to go through every single t-shirt now and say, are they trying to infer something? Are they trying to get away with something here? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It certainly sounds like they're trying to pick and choose what they want to consider as vulgar and what is not. I mean, in the pro-abortion marches, you see some really spicy stuff on some ladies, on their hair. They got the pink hats going and working. They've got crazy shirts, and you see all that stuff at schools all the time. So are they going to go after those too? I generally will always defer to the side of free speech. I personally don't like seeing all the cuss words on the back of people's cars and trucks, but that's just my opinion. I realize I'm in the minority on that. I wish we were in a society where we didn't have to do that. You can see it too, like if you're scrolling for your favorite podcast or whatever, all of a sudden they'll have a four-letter word with the asterisk in there for one of the vowels. But you know what they're saying. Is that considered vulgar speech? And now if they're at school and they're perusing Rumble or YouTube and they get something like that, now is that vulgar? It's just a open-ended door where unfortunately it comes back to, does your culture have norms and values that are meaningful, or is it just hodgepodge put together? Because the culture rot is real. And with all the shootings that happened this past weekend, we had another victim pass away today. You are going to see hypercorrection running away because we all can agree that mass shootings are bad. It doesn't matter whether the person pulling the trigger, it doesn't matter what race they are, it doesn't matter what sex they are. That's not good. And now, because of some people and some culture rot all across Mississippi, there's going to be a lot less tailgating with a lot more restrictions. Canton's just getting rid of everything altogether. As a Gen Xer would say, this is why we can't have nice things. We're sitting there pushing so hard to have a freer, open, better society. We're trying to be able to build diverse networks. And I'm using all the buzzwords, right? All the things. We're trying to have this utopia. We're searching for utopia. We're never going to get it, not even close. All we're going to continue to do is take away rights here, suspend rights there, change wording here, make it look like we're important, make it look like we're doing something. Well, I did vote for that bill in the Senate last year. Do you remember that? And we continue to lose our way little by little. I do hope that this Let's Go Brandon decision does go to the Supreme Court. Because at that point, you can turn anything into a political slogan in 3 hours and about $25,000 on X. You'll get it trending worldwide, and phew, next thing you know, you're going viral. And you can take out free speech that way. Is Make America Again vulgar? We already know it's triggering. We've seen the TikToks on the airplanes where old ladies, boomers, can't control themselves when someone walks on the plane with a Make America Great Again hat. That's just insane. But that's where we're at in America. And I know that there were a lot of conservatives out there who were really happy to see this, the vulgarity part, but all of a sudden now look what's vulgar. We have so much more to talk about, so much more to go through. We've got this brand new opinion from Mississippi Today by Tyler Vance. And it's really interesting to see how the Democrats are trying to raise money in Mississippi. I mean, they're coming after Cindy Hyde. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We are streaming online. Love when people check in. Miss Amber checked in. Miss Amber, we got to keep an eye on Splinter and Toots. We got to watch them. They're off and going on their business. It's going to be great. But we have to be so. We were talking about the media and a little bit about AI and how things are being manipulated and created, and you just don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if you've noticed this, but on X and particularly on YouTube, there are so many AI channels pushing 98% truths and just trying to get back your way into a corner that you don't want to be in. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing that I want to get to is we get these alerts. Alert: 3 B-52s have been spotted flying between Mexico and Cuba, flying towards Venezuela. U.S. Homeland Security News. Block them. This just makes no sense. We would never sit there and necessarily talk about, hey, we're flying a bunch of B-52s to bomb Venezuela. We wouldn't know about it till after it happened. Absolutely insane. So we've got our favorite pollster, Mr. Harry Enton, and I should have put this in the last segment, tying up the Democrats, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this isn't just Andrew Gosser looking through happy glasses, sitting here saying that Democrats are in rough shape. When CNN puts out something like this, it's good to pay attention to it, not because you believe it 100%, but it does. Again, it's another point of evidence to the fact that Democrats are having a really hard time doing anything.
2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. That was, of course, the first Trump term. That was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. You go back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What'd you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018.
So what we're saying is in 2025 in April, the Democrats were up 3 points in a generic poll. If the election were held today and there was a generic Democrat and a generic Republican, what would you vote for? And what they're saying there is in April 2017, the advantage was +3. In April 2025, the advantage was again +3 to the Democrat side. Now in October of 2025, in October of 2017, the Democrats' advantage was now at a +8. But it's only at a +3 right now. And it's the same as it was in April. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that there is absolutely no momentum inside inside the country, really, who are supporting anything that the Democrats are doing. And again, if you got some good stuff the Democrats are doing, feel free to call them in. We'd love to hear about it. We will talk about one in a second. But bottom line is that the Democrats are completely stuck in the mud, and it's just almost like quicksand. The more they thrash and waller around, the quicker they're going down.
You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, you know what, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, but things were likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same signs this year. The bottom line is it hasn't happened, Kate Baldwin. It hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They have fallen off the pace. Democrats were way out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And
you know, as an instructor in the military, they always taught you, your body animations, your hand gestures and everything. You always want to make them enunciated, pointed, really specific. And I love that about this guy. He gets so hyped up and animated, sometimes over the silliest stuff.
Now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead, but again, they are so far in back of the pace that they set back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this +3 going to be enough, Kate Baldwin?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. One change from that cycle is also this mid-decade redistricting effort that we've been covering so much. You add that in, and what do you get?
Okay, so
This is really good. Pay attention to this, because if this doesn't get you amped up just a little bit, when you're talking politics, I'm not sure what will, because this is completely outside the box.
we add that and we take a look at the national picture, but then we, of course, taking a look at the state legislators, right? They are potentially changing things. And there are two things that are going on here. First off, net mid-decade redistricting gains. If both sides max out at this point, there are more Republican gains possible than Democratic gains. Yes, the Democrats might try to counter a Texas and a California, but you go along in the different states and basically Democrats run out of room where Republicans are able to gain and gain and gain. If both sides max out, we're probably looking at a GOP gain of +7 House seats. That doesn't even take into account the potential gutting of the VRA that is right now going to be in front of the Supreme Court. If you add that in, you could be looking.
Voting Rights Act.
What? Yes,
Voting
exactly
Rights.
right. The Voting Rights Act. If you add that in, then you could be looking about adding 10, 12, 15, 17 on top of this 7 seats. So I think a lot of folks.
Yep, and we'll stop it right there. You're talking, depending on how the sausage is made and how the baked bread is sliced, up to 24 new Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives in off presidential election year. It's been a long time since we had something like that. Maybe Mr. Newt back in 1994, contract with America. I think the Democrats had a big one too, didn't they? Maybe it was 2018. They had like a 40 House member gain. So what's happening here is so unprecedented, because it should be the exact opposite of what's happening. Right now, the Democrats should be out to that 8-point, 9-point generic ballot lead, but they're not. They're having real big problems. And it's not just necessarily in Congress, but in the Senate too. And there's a really good article from the Mississippi Today, and I've got time to do it, so I'm gonna. Democrat Scott Cullum reports raising $600,000 since launching his U.S. Senate campaign against Cindy Hyde-Smith. Senator, in the last segment, I said Miss Cindy Hyde. I should have said Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. I apologize. Wasn't trying to be rude, but that's just how I am. And long story short is this guy's coming out of the gate swinging. The Democrats are saying it's the most money that a candidate's ever raised in the first quarter coming out of the box for a Senate race. 600,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but you've got to look at how many mailers are you going to have to get out there? How many doors are you going to have to knock? How many signs are you going to have to print? How many? I mean, it's just going to be a rapidly expensive thing. So he's going to have to at least quadruple, if not 10x that money. He really is. And then Cindy Hyde-Smith hasn't had her numbers available for this last quarter, but she reported to the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, raising around $1.2 million and having around $1.4 million cash on hand. So she's more than doubled him right now, and she hasn't even put in the phone calls yet to start fundraising. Not only that, this is going to make some of the more conservative people upset, but I'm just telling you like it is. You have all of these county GOP infrastructures in place that will plug in and will support the Republican nominee. That's why it's so important to be a precinct delegate. This is a perfect example of why. I can tell you, everybody in my precinct where I live, I don't even say the precinct, Terry too, they'll get a letter from me and I'll let people know what's going on. Imagine if you just had one person in every precinct that just helped inform the voters of what's going on. You could build an entire system and you could really do some fantastic things, especially in smaller elections. You know, I think Mississippi, I know I'm going to get torched with this if I get it wrong, but there's at least 81. I think there's 83 counties. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I'll get better. I'll Google it and commit it to memory. But just think, if there's 83 counties, you have to have a point person in each county to run an effective campaign. Now you might say, I'm going to spend more time in Madison and Rankin County because there's more voters there than there are in Sunflower or Panola County. And that makes sense, but you have to do that. That's why if you're going to run for senator, if you're going to run for Congress, get this game plan figured out long before you're actually going to run. But yeah, the Mississippi Today came out with this very fluffy article on this guy. I do believe this is the guy who did have left a phone message, and there's some kind of drama with that. Whatever. I don't see that having any impact on the race right now. I think everybody's lining up their support. The Republicans are going to have a primary. There's a couple people running. It'll be interesting to see how this fleshes out. How much money does Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith have to spend in the primary to get to the general so that she can overwhelm what the Democrats are going to do? It's going to be a different year, too. Oh, shoot, we're up against a break. We're going to take our last break. And when we get back, I'm going to finish up this thought. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. We are back on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Trying to finish up my thought from the last segment. Look, the Democrats have a real fundraising problem right now. They used to get all of this NGO money from USAID. It was just a giant pass-through organization. They're not going to have that anymore. Or they're not going to have as much money. There's stories that I saw on CNN and MSNBC/MS Now/BS Always saying that they are so far behind the fundraising campaign between the Republicans and the Democrats. So unless this Democrat who's running for against Cindy Hyde-Smith, gets like a sugar daddy coming in, the Democrats have those whales out there. Do not discount people like J.B. Pritzker, Uber billionaire, going into Virginia to try to decimate things. He dropped hundreds of millions of bucks in some of these races. He's an incredible super donor, and the left is full of them. Now they don't necessarily want to be caught seeing what they've been up to. People, they don't like what Soros has done, and they're getting tainted with it. But between the energy of the local Republican Party, and I won't even necessarily always call it Republican. Some of them say, I'm not a Republican, I'm a conservative. Fine, but you genuinely caucus on the Republican side. The energy locally versus what's going on nationally, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. I'm excited to see what happens in the coming months in the Democrat primary. I'm not so much interested in what's happening in the Republican primary yet. Nothing really has been announced, so we really don't have an idea of what's going to go down yet. But there are people out there who are talking about it. 24 years ago today, October 14th, 2001, where were you? I was at Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida, but I was at most likely a sports bar eating wings, watching Tom Brady throw his first career touchdown in Foxborough. It's 24 years ago today. Where has the time gone? The time just flies. Tom Brady, the GOAT? Absolutely. There are a lot of good quarterbacks out there, but his longevity, his passing accuracy, his turnover ratio, second to none, man. We'll be back in about 8 minutes. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB.
This is Central Mississippi's Stimulating Talk.
1039 WYAB. Pocahontas, Jackson.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. Key case before the U.S. Supreme Court, a challenge to a section of the Voting Rights Act. CBS's Jan Crawford says it's about Louisiana's congressional map, which has 2 majority black districts.
A group of white voters challenged a second legislative district in Louisiana. They say it's unconstitutional, that you're not supposed to consider race. The government's not supposed to consciously sort people based on their skin color. So that's kind of the convoluted question that the court will take up, but it could have dramatic implications for how states draw up their legislative districts.
On day 15 of the government shutdown, members of the military are getting paid today, but other federal workers are seeing only partial pay or nothing this week. CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns.
President Trump is threatening more targeted cuts.
We're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back.
His comments came during a meeting with Argentinian President Javier Milei, whose country has been offered a $20 billion bailout by Trump.
Overseas, NATO Chief Mark Rutte says most of the alliance is set to buy more American weapons.
More than half of NATO allies have now signed up. securing this crucial flow of support for Ukraine.
The State Department's revoked the visas of at least 6 people for their online posts about Charlie Kirk.
An Argentine national lost their visa after saying Kirk devoted his entire life spreading racist, xenophobic, misogynistic rhetoric. So did a German national who posted, "When fascists die, Democrats don't complain." The State Department says the U.S. has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. Days after Kirk's assassination, Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned anyone here on a visa cheering on the public assassination of a political figure should prepare to be deported. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
The world soccer body FIFA said today it hopes all 16 host cities in North America for next year's World Cup will be ready. President Trump has threatened to move some of the matches, such as those in the Boston area, if safety is an issue. Now to South Carolina, CBS's Christian Benavides reports a measles outbreak has 16 known cases in Spartanburg, and around 150 children have been told to stay out of school and quarantine at home.
The highly contagious virus spreads through the air and can linger for up to 2 hours. Symptoms can include high fever, cough, runny nose, red eyes, and a rash. The virus can also cause severe infections, especially in kids under 5.
More than 100 students in Minnesota's Twin Cities are quarantining after being exposed to the measles. Wall Street, right now the Dow is up 108 points. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. See why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive to stay protected on the road. See for yourself at progressive.com.
So my mother is thinking of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Ma, go ask Verizon spends on advertising and promotions. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotions, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust me, I would know. That's why they can offer you and my mother unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. And if you're a business owner, you could really save a fortune. Dial pound 250, say the words Mike Rowe, and you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 Mike Rowe. Pure Talk.
News and weather brought to you this hour by Flora Animal Hospital, where we treat your pets like our own. Visit our website, floraanimalhospital.com.
Take care. TCB says the FBI. 87 this afternoon and sunny. 68 tonight and clear. 89 and sunny Thursday. Rain and storms possibly expected Saturday afternoon. Saturday night and into Sunday. News on 103.9 WYAB. It was the FBI that announced the 5th arrest in the English shootings Tuesday. The person arrested was ID as 33-year-old Jerome S. Martin was charged with capital murder and given a $1 million bail. The agency has been working this week with Washington County authorities and also announced the arrest of 4 other people, 3 charged with capital murder and another charged with attempted murder from this weekend's killings of 6 people. Another person has died from the Highland Park incident. Authorities say Kyle Stevens died from unspecified wounds, not gunshots. Have been arrested so far this weekend since there. In Canada, the agent tailgated Friday, so killing anybody who had not get their money back. That's on the recommendation of the MHSBA. In Indiana, there will be tailgating before Gentry High until the Friday. This is rescheduled. The game is now at 2 p.m. The parade is at 10 a.m. The block party that had been planned for Friday night was next. You may have seen the busted windows and the damage to the old Virginia College building on Ridgewood Road, which has become the makeshift home for homeless people. WLVG reports there's an effort to get the place torn down now, but it's being held up because the state owns the property. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB.
Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned in to hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Wednesday, the 15th of October, 2025. My goodness gracious, the week is zooming by. We are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. If you can't tune into us on the radio, we sure do appreciate you tuning into the stream, no matter where you get it. Just ask that you like, subscribe, and share the stream, whether it be Rumble, YouTube, or X. And if you wouldn't mind following me, that would be really awesome. Andrew Gosser, ANDREW GASSER. If you want to be part of the show today, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show today, it's standard. We are here to equip the saints. You are. Gentle answers turn away wrath. Harsh words, they incite anger. Yesterday was a really solemn day in America. We honored Charlie Kirk on his 32nd birthday, gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I didn't realize, I thought the medal in and of itself was standard, but apparently this is the first Presidential Medal of Freedom with a cross on it, which I thought was really cool. And what has come in the 5 weeks since Charlie was murdered is that we've seen a definite pattern of violence from one side of the political aisle. We have. And people have been fooling around, and they're finding out. Clay Edwards and I talked about the restaurant owner in Oxford, Mississippi, who was fired from the university in her restaurant, and it took a hit. The society, the culture doesn't want to glorify death. We don't want to glorify that kind of garbage. It's wrong. That's why this has come from the International Business Times. United States revoked 6 visas over Charlie Kirk's death amid social media crackdown. One was from Argentina. Another one was from Germany. I really don't care where they're from. If you're coming to the United States of America to better yourself and better your family and better your country, you really shouldn't trash talk the country that you're in, especially when it is the best country on God's green earth. There's nowhere else anyone would rather be born than here. You can see by how many people illegally flooded here when the gates were wide open. Quick, get in quick. It's not even debatable. I'm glad to see that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who's doing an absolute fantastic job, you know, he's not playing around. We've got this right here. Visa holders from Argentina, South Africa, Mexico, Germany, Brazil, and Paraguay were identified and banned. It makes me wonder what's going to happen to all of these campuses where Free Palestine is all the rage. Again, a lot of live action role playing, whether it be on campus or in Portland. It's hard to believe that the National Guard has been in some of these places for so long, and the effects they're having is great. But getting back to getting rid of these 6 individuals, there are more out there, but we won't hear too many stories about them because in the mind of the political or the American body politic, nobody likes anybody trashing their city. I mean, you clearly see it when President Trump trashes Portland. You know, the people in Portland get, you know, some of them get really fired up over it. And they'll make excuses for all the murders and rapes and illegal immigration crime like they do in Chicago and in Illinois. But I think the way that President Trump has handled this, the way the National Guard has been mobilized and then put into positions where they can do what they need to do. And speaking of Illinois, people haven't really heard about this, but the Illinois state troopers are pretty much going and doing their own thing. They're going out there and they are supporting ICE. They're helping ICE. They're not necessarily going on patrols that round things up, but they're going out there and they're making things happen. We got this weather alert. Let's see what's going to happen here. Oh, maybe it's just a test. But anyways, long story short is that you've got all these people who are locked in and ready to start raising all sorts of cane as a visa passport. Doesn't matter whether student visa or whatever. They're getting the hell out of here, and that's great. They need to go. Which brings me to the actual Trump awards Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk posthumously, of course. Sad day. President Donald Trump on Tuesday posthumously awarded Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom, saying he was entering the late conservative activist name onto the roster of true American heroes. Oh, that's true. Whether you agreed with Charlie or not, he was going out to the highways and byways, the hedges. He was going ahead and having real conversations with people who disagreed with him. Real conversations, not this AI chatbot garbage. And it, I played that clip yesterday, and I do think that's the clip that really sent a lot of people over the edge. You can spend a lot of hours just researching everything that Charlie spit out there in 6 minutes and then validating it all. What was, Trump has been so busy. Not only did he get this peace process going just the day before in Israel and in Egypt, flies back home, and, we have this Medal of Freedom ceremony. And they tried to make a big deal out of him thinking about moving it. But once he realized it was Charlie's birthday, he's like, nope, battle through it. And this president is on the move. There's nobody who can say that this president doesn't put out. I mean, there's no auto pen days in the Trump White House. There's nothing like that happening. He's on the move, on the go. And the coverage, most of the coverage, even by what I would call poor news sources, was pretty positive for brother Charlie and his wife Erica, and not so much to President Trump, but Vice President Vance, Second Lady Usha Vance. They actually really did a nice job with the ceremony, and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you might want to. It'll definitely touch you. But going through this whole situation with Charlie and getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, they were focusing on all the stuff that Charlie did, and now Erica is going to have to take that mantle and go with it. And you might have heard about some of the stuff she's doing. Number one, Charlie said that Erica was more conservative than she is. Good luck, people. That's going to be great for us. They're also going to do their own halftime show. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Turning Point USA is going to have the Great American Halftime Show in place of Bad Bunny and the NFL, because the NFL has completely lost its rocker, doesn't care about its team branding or league branding anymore. It's all just a left-wing cult. I wasn't even going to watch the Super Bowl, but I'll tune into the Turning Point live stream to check that out for sure. And a lot of these articles go out of their way to point out how strong Usha Vance has been for Erica, how JD was a personal friend, Charlie, and how he flew Air Force 2 out there. It was really good. But you knew that CNN wasn't going to let a news story go without taking a shot at something. Especially in the wake of Charlie's assassination, our country must have absolutely no tolerance for this radical left violence, extremism, and terror, the president said, but made no mention of political violence against Democrats. We have mentioned violence against Democrats. We don't condone it. We come out against it every chance we get. And the 2 lawmakers who were shot in Minnesota, that was by a Governor Walz supporter up there. They're trying to make it sound like it was a MAGA Republican, but it wasn't. Had all those No King flyers in their car, and now we're about to have another one. We're about to have another No Kings coming up on the 18th. As CNN has reported, the data doesn't back up Trump's claims that political violence is a bigger problem on the left. This is like all the people in Memphis right now who are saying how great it is. If you go watch their TikToks, how great it is that there's no violence going on in Memphis right now. And everybody else is complaining, oh, there's all sorts of violence out here. And the people are looking at it going, what's going on here? Now, I can explain what CNN did. CNN has looked and changed their criteria for what they're going to consider a Republican or a MAGA considered attack or from the right. And it's absolutely ridiculous when you look at the level of threats that are coming in between what the left is doing and what the right is doing. I know quite a few people on the right, varying degrees of it, and I haven't heard one person talk about doing anything stupid or foolish. That's not to say it can't happen. But if you go out and look at the national leaders, go look at the local leaders, go look at anybody who's on the center or the right, they're like, this is wrong. And remember, we had the Rutgers study that we talked about just the day, either the day that Charlie passed away or it was the next day. I can't remember now. But we were talking about it, how that study from Rutgers came out with how the left it was okay to commit violence for political ends. Coming in on the left. I've got that bookmarked. I might have to bring that back up because I know some people aren't going to like that. But that's the truth of the story. We got to honor one of our national heroes. I said it before, I'll say it again. He was this upcoming generation's Rush Limbaugh. Now there's going to have to be somebody else to fill that gap. I don't know who it's going to be. You never really know when something like that happens. Kind of like the next man up theory. Sometimes you think this is a strong leader. He's going to step right in and start leading and find out that they're not as strong of a leader as they thought. Sometimes someone comes in out of the back that you really thought was just there to fill a space, and they turn out to be a fantastic leader, dynamic leader. People will follow. And that's all that Charlie was ultimately doing. He was building leaders all across the United States of America and around the world for that matter, to a Judeo-Christian value system, and he used politics as a vehicle for that. Could you imagine if the GOP had 31,000 precinct delegates from like Turning Point USA? How strong and conservative of a push that would be? It'd be awesome. Love to see it. I enjoy being a precinct delegate. It's a lot of fun, especially if you do the work for it. But at the same time, you're supposed to be there party building. We're supposed to be there doing what needs to happen, building that party so that when elections come, we can do stuff. And shout out to Spencer Ritchie, who had that event at Iron Horse last night. Many of you knew I had some more teeth worked on yesterday. So by the time I got done there, wasn't able to make it to Iron Horse. But I wanted to go, and I put it out there. That's the first hour of the that's the first segment of the second hour of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. We will be right back.
.1039 WYAB.
Your roof is constantly exposed to the elements, battling dirt, algae, and stains. But with Watkins Construction and Roofing Roof Wash Service, you can keep it looking like new. A proprietary rooficide treatment is EPA approved, safe, and guaranteed to prevent algae from coming back for at least 2 years. No harsh chemicals, no damage, no black streaks. Just a clean, beautiful roof that lasts. Call Watkins Construction and Roofing at 601-966-8233 or visit nomoreroofstains.com today.
Whether new construction or remodeling, Stephen Arrington and his team at Elite Custom Construction can design and build your dream kitchen and cabinets, inside and outside. Using high-quality products, Elite Custom Construction specializes in cabinetry and intricate millwork. Established in 2011, licensed and insured, Elite Custom Construction is your solution to your next project. Call Stephen at 601-927-0552 or visit them online at elitecustomconstruction.net.
Would you like the convenience of a sunglass clip that fits your eyeglass frame? Hi, it's Bruce from Eye Gear Optical, and I've heard you asking, so I stocked up on them. Come choose from our selection of Revolution eyewear frames with magnetic sun clips at fantastic prices. For about the same price as a regular eyeglass frame, you can have the best of both worlds while they last. Come see me and I'll customize a pair just for you at Eye Gear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl, and on the web at eyegearoptical.com.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins of Home Care Plus in Ridgeland. We are a proud carrier of Abena Premium Incontinence products. Abena has the most absorbency available, making changes and leaks less likely. After 7 years as a seller, I can tell you these products are amazing and worth every penny to quality of life for patient and caregiver. And we ship all incontinence products as well. So please come see us at Home Care Plus in Ridgeland for all the incontinence needs of you or your family member. That's Home Care Plus in Ridgeland.
After 28 years, we are closing our brick and mortar location in Canton come November 2025. But fear not, smalltownmusic.com will remain alive and well, and you will still be able to text or call 601-859-8596. Small Town Music, come on and get it. 859-8596. Call before you're home. We will have a booth on Canton Square at the Emporium, and you can still browse our guitars and support our original music at www.smalltownmusic.com.
There's never been a better time to buy a new construction home in the city of Brandon at Hyde Park. Take advantage of builder incentives, including seller pay closing costs or rate buydowns that help you lower your payment by hundreds. Prices start at $299,000 at Hyde Park. These beautiful homes offer LVP flooring, gas fireplace, and 2-car garages, all backed by a wonderful builder's warranty. Hey, I'm Brad Burleson with UList Realty, and I'd love to show you around Hyde Park anytime. Give us a look at our website, ulistms.com, or simply Google Hyde Park Brandon.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
Oh, yeah, you are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show, where I will not let you down. I might tell you some things that you don't want to hear, or I might come at it from a different perspective than somebody else, but I won't let you down. You know who else won't let you down? My man Bruce Bennett over at Eye Gear Optical. The best selection in glasses in Rankin County and the greater Jackson area. The service is truly top-notch. And I can't recommend my man Bruce over at Eye Gear Optical, located at 2630 and Highway 80 in Pearl, really close to the Sam's and the Bass Pro Shop out there. They're open from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. eyegearoptical.com. Bruce, we really appreciate you supporting the show, man. It means a lot, and I'm very grateful and thankful. So we were continued talking about all these different things going on. We talked about the revocation of the Charlie Kirk visa people who just were talking a bunch of smack. People had asked where I'm just going through the text now. I want to make sure I keep up to date. People are asking where I got the Democrat poll numbers from. That was real clear polling. And if you go to my X page, you'll be able to grab that right there. Eric Melton writes in, he goes, personally, I'm a MAGA Republican, but I will say this to the Democrat Party have become so liberal and extreme. They give those there that are closer to the center absolutely no way to vote for their party. He's absolutely right. And that's exactly what this show is all about. It's not about the extreme right or the extreme left. It's all about us in the middle. And the truth is there's so many people who were looking for a home. And I mean, if we're being truthful about it, the reason that Trump is so popular is, what was it, 16 years of The Apprentice, where people got to see Trump humanize himself for 16 years. And the left absolutely loved him, ate it up. You can go look at the interviews on The View and on ABC This Morning and all those morning shows, Good Morning America. They just loved him. But yep, I put the Democrat one up there, and I will, before the show ends, I will definitely go ahead and put the Republican one up there too, because again, it's important. Remember this, folks. I just didn't say how bad the Democrats were doing. I put out what the Republicans were doing too, and we're still negative 13. So there's plenty of room for growth. But if you do a side-by-side comparison, it's not even debatable. It's one of those. This is coming from the Magnolia Tribune, George Melvaney, and this is an opinion piece, and I think it fits in really well with what's going on inside, not just our country politically, but what's going inside of us spiritually. A lot of us are. I know this is happening because I get texts about it, calls about it. People are like, I used to be with this party, but I can no longer be this way because of what's happening. And there are people who are out there really searching for stuff. I threw away my freedom to extremism. Political violence will cost you the same. And I can't agree with this anymore. And again, this is coming from Magnolia Tribune. Is definitely right-leaning, but they're pretty much calling balls and strikes straight down the middle. So I enjoy using them. And I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs, maybe three, because this will set the tone. I know what it feels like to be young, angry, and convicted that violence is the answer. I've been there. Decades ago, I fell with the most radical wing of the Ku Klux Klan. I believed their tirades. I followed their orders, and I thought I was serving some greater cause. What I really did was throw away one thing I cherished the most, my freedom. Once associated with some of the most violent and radical Klansmen have ever existed, men who would make leaders of Antifa, Groper Army, and the Proud Boys look like model citizens. My close associates included Sam Bowers and Byron D. La Beckwith, names that tied to some of the darkest chapters in American history. You don't become a confidant of these men without being considered a violent extremist yourself. I was deep in it, and I paid the price. And this goes on to talk about how he completely screwed up his entire life going down this path of violence. And we need to hear that. I mean, what this guy did was unconscionable. And here he is so many years later writing about his mistakes. So we have two choices we can do with this op-ed that's on Magnolia Tribune. You can either read it and learn from it, or you can say, this guy's a bad guy, and just gaslight the heck out of him and just throw him to the waste bin and don't learn. It's absolutely critical that we that's why it's so important to remember our history. I don't want to glorify these guys. I don't want to give them any special place in history, but we have to remember what happened. And we can't just sit there and tear down the statues and tear down all the history from it and burn it and like it pretended it never happened, because it did. It did happen. And look at how we've corrected ourselves from it. and this guy continues to go down and talk about what it was like in prison. It's really a great piece. Another paragraph from here. This is really key. Now I see others heading down the dark same road. Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, and the gunman who opened fire on the ICE facility in Dallas. And it's not confined to any one ideology. We've seen the murders of Minnesota House Representative Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the shooting of a Minnesota state senator and his wife. I know exactly where this ends. Well, I do have to correct him there, because again, he was passing out flyers for No Kings. He had a bunch of flyers in his car. No one wants to talk about how he was hired by Waltz and his campaign for governor. So let's make sure that there are examples of people on the right who are out of bounds and they need to be corrected, but that's not one of them. What feels like a bold act in the moment will collapse into regret, iron bars, and wasted years. Political violence tears at the fabric of this country and makes it harder for people to come together in peaceful debate. It fuels fear, division, and in the end, it silences the very voices that want real change. So true. And you know what they use? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you think about COVID, what happened? I remember tracking it in Excel for like the first 60 days, and I could see the uptick in cases and everything. And it's they just built the fear, the unknown, and then putting a dash of fear on it and just building up everybody into this giant ball of anxiety. It's not good. Kudos to Magnolia Tribune for putting this out. They didn't have to put that out, especially in George for telling the truth about his past and where it's leading. That almost should be mandatory reading for a civics class in high school, saying, look at how screwed up I am and look at where it got me, and this is where it's going to get you if you follow the same path. And just like you said, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You don't want that. Political violence is a lot like Candace Owens telling active duty military members to go AWOL and get a dishonorable discharge. You just don't want to do it. It's a bad idea. We have so much more in common. Most of us do. We have so much more in common than we do differences. I'm saying if you don't believe that men should use the girls' locker room to change because they identify as a girl, we probably get agree on a lot of stuff. If you agree that a man shouldn't be playing girls' volleyball or running girls' track, we probably get along with a lot of different things. We have so much more in common. They call it an 80-20 issue. We have so much more in common in the center and on the right than we do on the left. Because when we talk about transgenderism, when we talk about violence, or we talk about track or men and girls sports, that splits the Democrat Party at least in half, if not more, to the conservative side of the aisle. And that's why the Republicans are doing so good in the generic ballot, is because Democrats who do not agree with this transgenderism, that they do not agree with what's going on in Washington, they just sit there and lop the whole thing off. Forget it. I'll go Republican. Now it's up to the Republican Party for us to make sure that we have good candidates for people to vote for, especially those who are leaning left but really want to go to the right to send a message. We've got to do a good job on that, and we are. I think there are a lot of really good local candidates. I'm not sure how good we're doing on the bigger scale, but we'll get there. It's time to take a break. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Join us for happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. where your wallet will thank you and your stomach will sing. Indulge in half-price wood-fired pizzas because why pay full price for half the fun? And for just $5, dive into our private barrel bourbon picks. That's right, luxury on a budget. Plus, beat the heat with our frozen drink special, a tropical escape without the travel expenses. Make your way to the manship where happy hour isn't just a time, it's an experience.
Here's a word from John White, the owner of Two Gun Tactical in Flowood and Ridgeland.
I carry a gun every day, all the time. Last year in America, 2 million legal guns were pulled, and it stopped the threat. So I'm really wearing a firearm just to stop the threat. There's more likelihood of me just pulling it and not using it than there is using it. TwoGunTactical.com, TwoGunTactical.com.
Two Gun Tactical, the South's only country club.
CBS News brief. The Supreme Court's taken up a major challenge to the Voting Rights Act, which could gut a provision of the law that prohibits racial discrimination in redistricting. Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
The same court struck down affirmative action in college admissions a few years ago, and drawing up congressional districts presents many of the same issues.
The CBS's Christian Benavides says at least 16 measles cases are reported in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Some school kids quarantining at home.
Nationwide measles cases are at a more than 3-decade high, while vaccination rates among kindergartners have been trending downwards in recent years.
On day 15 of the government shutdown, members of the U.S. military are getting paid. CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns.
Lawmakers here continue to get paid as is required by law, but the police officers who protect this Capitol have missed their first full paychecks.
CBS News brief. I'm Steve.
That is
Casey.
a decent. That is a decent resume. But go ahead.
SunKist Tan and Wellness on Highway 49 in Flora.
Well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
Our mission at SunKist is to enhance your natural beauty, offer expert advice, and create
I like the some people say. Very nice.
Tan and Wellness. Step into our
I'm
oasis
just
and let us
speaking facts.
illuminate
Yeah.
your beauty. Ask about our membership program. Find us on Facebook at SunKist Tan and Wellness or online at sunkisstannandwellness.org.
I'm speaking with Lee Bounds of Rapid Rate Mortgage. How does real estate agent Rita Jensen succeed when time is of the essence?
In today's market, it is so important to communicate and close on time. Typically have 30 days to close, get a home inspection, appraisal, title work, that kind of thing is a mortgage process. And a realtor relationship is so important. With a realtor like Rita Jensen with Remax Connection, she helps us to close on time.
RitaJensen.net.
I am Wayne Lloyd, Delta Farm Services, LLC. We do all types of dirt work, excavation, dozer work, land leveling. We do building pads, commercial ponds and lakes, residential ponds and lakes, anything with dirt work. Delta Farm Services, LLC.
Google Delta Farm Services, LLC, or find them on Facebook. Delta Farm Services, LLC.
At Center for Orthodontics, we believe in family, tradition, and community. From kids to adults, Sandifer offers state-of-the-art orthodontic care with complimentary consultations, so everyone in the family can smile with confidence. Sandifer Orthodontics proudly supports Tri-County Academy and the Building on Tradition campaign, so a short drive to local businesses like Sandifer helps TCA thrive. Begin the journey to a beautiful smile at SandiferOrtho.com. Sandifer Orthodontics, Highland Village, Jackson, and Gateway Drive in Brandon.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Phone line is 601-879-0002. Texters, you are coming through, 601-879-5060. This classic was just sent to me, and that's what's great about live radio. I'm trying to go down a track here, trying to keep myself in between the guardrails, and something like this comes in, and it's just like a golden goose dumped into your lap. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Get ready, guys. Strap in, put on your seatbelts, get ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That is a decent resume. But go ahead. But well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
What? Come on now. You can't believe that. Kamala is the best candidate ever to run for president. A different Andy would put on some a dope track and just start riffing on it, but I'm not. But man, this lady is nuts. Standing ovation.
I like I like the some people say. Very nice, but go ahead.
I'm just speaking fact.
Yeah.
Speaking of fact, is there anybody within the sound of my voice that thinks that Kamala Harris was a better candidate than either Donald Trump or, I mean, I think at this point, Sleepy Joe might have been the safer option between the two. I don't know, but unknown texter, and I don't know how to save names on my phone for that, but unknown texter, I appreciate that. That was definitely good stuff. Good stuff. Mississippi Free Press. I did get a couple of texts talking about what's my obsession with men being in the girls' bathroom and why am I so worried about the trans. Well, I have a daughter, number one. She's 17 years old, and I don't want any male freaks in the same bathroom as her. I don't think that's me asking too much. I don't think that's you asking too much. My daughter goes to a gym. I expect her to go into the women's locker room, and there's not going to be a dude in there shaving his beard. Am I asking for too much? I don't think so. And everybody understands that Title IX is there to protect women. And they're using it, instead of using Title IX as a shield, they're using it as a sword. And it was not designed to be the sword like they're using it. And what's really, it's just the way that Tammy Walker, who wrote this from the Mississippi Free Press, wrote this. She absolutely tries to come in and go from an appeal from authority, and this whole piece, which you should read, but I'm not going to read it over there. I'm just going to pull certain points from it. It just goes to show you how they're always trying to manipulate people. And the important thing about this is that those of us who are on the right, we should read this stuff so we know how to combat it. And we can, when you start seeing things, it makes it easier for you to identify. And then you yourself can become an evangelist and explain the faith. Yep. Most Americans assume that schools are legally required to protect students from sexual harassment and assault under Title IX, the federal law enacted in 1972 that bans sexual discrimination in education. I am a law professor and researcher who has spent more than a decade examining the disconnect between what Title IX promises on paper and what students expect it to deliver in practice. What's happening now isn't just another policy shift. It's a dismantling of the protections many assume still exist. Well, we don't protect women in the girls' locker room. Democrats still, they're crickets about it. They don't talk about it. They're still for men playing men's sports or men playing girl sports. Title IX is supposed to protect that. And to be fair, this woman does start off as a very neutral and unbiased point of view, but as the more you go through the article, the more and more it just goes further and further to the left. Remember how we were talking about how the appellate court in Michigan said that "Let's Go Brandon" shirts insinuate vulgarity. Well, they got a picture here of all these women wearing their pink hats. You know what that is. Wearing some shirts that definitely insinuate vulgarity on campus. Are they going to have their freedom of speech blocked? Are they going to have to explain? I mean, will the school board or the board of directors of the school sit there and say, "Oh, you can't wear that. That's vulgar"? It's just my opinion that the vulgarity behind closed doors, obviously it happens everywhere, but out in public, it's much more pushed by a certain side. There's nothing a man's locker room there's nothing in a man's locker room that would hamper anyone from getting dressed. Why do you need to be in a girl's locker room? Brother, I don't know, man. Maybe a guy feels he needs it's mental illness is truly what it is. If we really get down to the brass tacks of it all, the mental illness that's raging around, thinking that men can actually be a woman and have babies and ovulate. I mean, they're out there, and that doesn't even include the furries, dude. I'll tell you what, furry nation out there, they are real, and they are quick to get all up into you if you try to debate them on stuff. I just feel we would not have any of these problems right now if our cell phones weren't pumping this stuff into us every day. And that's right here in Mississippi. So imagine what they're doing in Illinois. Imagine what they're doing in New York or California or Oregon, Washington, these places way to the left. It even goes further over. The piece says that today's Title IX is less protective and the agency responsible for enforcing them is being dismantled. Well, you know whose fault it is for all this dismantling that's going on by Trump and vote? It's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. If they would have voted to keep the government open, Trump and Office of Management and Budget wouldn't have all the power it has. You know, NASA JPL lost 500 people. There are other departments I'm getting talk that are coming into me from NASA because that's where I did a lot of my work in DC, telling me that there's a lot of people on the 8th floor not too happy. Cuts are coming. And now these people are upset that the cuts are coming. If Trump actually does what I think he's going to do with how he's positioned this government shutdown, this is going to be better than like anything that the Tea Party did back in 2010 and 2012. The cuts will be so much bigger. They'll be permanent. You know, it's going to have a lifelong effect. You're talking 2 to 3 generations down the road because all these people are going to be off the books. We're going to rescope and refocus the government. And if I'm being truthful with it, I don't even think I would necessarily, I don't like the tactic that's being used. I understand why the tactic is being used. And quite truthfully, it's because those that go to Washington, D.C. saying they're going to cut the government never do. And the only person who can really cut the government is the executive officer because the Congress isn't going to do it. The judges certainly aren't going to do it. We have more incompetent judges today than we've ever had. And you know, when you have a sitting U.S. Supreme Court justice saying that she can't tell what a difference between a woman and a man is on the stand, that makes you wonder, is she legally qualified to do anything? I mean, fellas, every man listening to me right now, you telling me you don't know what the difference between a man and a woman is? You can't give a brief answer to a senator? To all the ladies listening right now, are you telling me you don't know the difference between a man and a woman? Really? I realize that the 80% of us are all agreeing with me right now, but there's that 20% that are locked in saying that the tranny men need to be in with our 7-year-old daughters getting changed in the locker room. They're pushing that. That is why the Democrats are doing so poorly, ladies and gentlemen. It is because everybody sees what they're doing in the Congress and in the Senate, and they're seeing what they're doing with our kids and children. And you can say all you want, but once that mama bear grizzly mode kicks in, once that father protection scheme kicks in, we just don't want it. And that's not saying we're going to go do anything violent. It's just say we're going to take the steps needed to get rid of these school board members and start pushing the country in a direction we want to go. And it's not even debatable what's going on in these blue states. People are leaving the blue states because they suck. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Another show in the bag. It was a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. If you go right now to the turningpointtour.com, you will see a list of dates. And Turning Point USA is coming to Ole Miss and Brother Jacob, who is the coordinator for all of northern Mississippi and Alabama, just sent me the list. It's going to be October 29th at Ole Miss. And you aren't going to want to miss this, because you want to know who the guest speakers are going to be? None other than Vice President J.D. Vance and Miss Erica Kirk. I ain't going to miss that. If you got kids, if you've got family members who need to get charged up and learn about Turning Point, this is going to be the event to do it. With the Vice President of the United States and Erica Kirk there, we didn't get the B team. We didn't get the C team. We got a full-fledged A team right there. And that is so awesome. I am so excited. I'm going to have to make sure I let all my people know what's going on there. And God is so good. He gives me a vehicle and a platform like this to let everybody know what's going on with Turning Point. Heck yeah, I want them to succeed. I want all of the conservative groups to succeed. All boats rise with the tide. And this is going to be great. And it's going to be really a special event. You can get tickets right now. They've got a get tickets link. I assume that these tickets are going to like fly off the shelves. They're going to go quick. So definitely want to make sure that you get yours today. Let's blow it up. Maybe we'd like have a early lunch on the 29th. Meet up somewhere at one of our great sponsors here at the radio show. Have lunch and then caravan to Oxford. Or we caravan to Oxford and eat somewhere in Oxford that we normally wouldn't get here locally. But I like the idea of going to one of our great sponsors and seeing what's happening there. Look, 2 hours goes by just so darn quick. I mean, it is shocking to me sometimes. I go in here and I do all the prep work and get everything going. And next thing you know, you're sitting there just having a heck of a time trying to figure out what you want to say on the radio and get all the stories in there. But we get it all packed in there. It fits neatly. It looks good. It sounds okay. Got a face made for radio. And look, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in about 22 hours and we will do it all again. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be blessed, everybody.